Welcome everybody to the training and broadcast today. I'm Trevor, and we're going to talk some eBay strategy. This one is specifically dedicated to those you guys who feel like you're kind of just clunking along on the retail drop shipping strategy. You're limping by each week, maybe making a few sales here and there, maybe not seeing a lot of consistency. Um, how many can relate to that, by the way? Those of you who are here live that are doing it, how many feel like you're limping along a little bit? Because I know some of you will. And you know what? That's okay. I think anybody who's ever started the retail drop shipping strategy limps along a little at the beginning because it's kind of tough. I always compare it to pulling out a big shotgun and then putting a really fine target, 100 yards away, and expecting to shoot and hit the bullseye within this very fine target every single time. It's difficult to do because you're just spreading BBs, right? It's just you're spraying out bullets. And that's kind of how the retail drop shipping is at the very beginning. You're closing your eyes and you're shooting from the hip and you're hoping that you hit something. And that's kind of, in a lot of ways, that's what we teach you to do at the beginning. So all of you guys at some point or another should be limping along a little bit, struggling to find good sellers, maybe running into some out of stock issues here and there. I know a lot of you guys who get over the hump and get through the first part that's a little more treacherous and difficult. Things end up smoothing out and you do great. But the key is to get over that hump, and the key is to not quit before you get over that hump, because I see that happen a little too often. Some of you will say, well, my drop shipping strategy, it's not working that well on eBay, so here's what I'm going to do instead. I'm going to just stop that and I'm going to work on my website, or I'm going to start doing affiliate marketing, and all of that is fine. I mean, nobody's forcing you to do the retail drop shipping strategy, and truthfully, not everybody is great at it. Some of you guys struggle a little bit. So we can always move on to another strategy, but I'd like to see you guys give it a really good shake before we end up determining that it's not for us. Okay, and this is one of the best ways to do it. So initially, we tell you to list a lot of stuff, right? Those of you guys who are here live with me, we've got some that have been here for a while and some not so much. How many listings do you have active right now in your store? Just put it in the little question box. If you're watching this recorded, you won't be able to see this, but I'll read out some of the numbers. Uh-oh, Jeff. I'm going to have to announce yours for sure. Jeff said he's only got 2 right now, but I bet there's a good reason for that. 140. I see 13, 30, 100. Jane, you're just starting, so luckily you get a free pass. 50. Linda, you took off a lot of yours. 20-ish, around 100. 41. 53. Ian, you've got up about 100. Okay. So clearly I don't have any of our veterans here. Our veteran retail drop shippers, or our people who are using retail drop shipping, our veterans probably have, I don't know, anywhere between 500 and 1,500 listings, which seems a little crazy, I know. But I got to tell you, the first issue with the very first thing that you guys struggle with is just volume, is just raw numbers. And so I'd encourage you, if you don't have a lot of listings up, to figure out a way to be more consistent and get more up. Because for the strategy to work that I'm going to share with you today, you can't do this strategy unless you have a lot of listings going. So whatever you need to do, if it's a little less TV during the week, maybe it's a couple hours less or fewer hours of sleep each night, whatever it is, a little less Netflix, right? whatever it is for you, cut it out and let's try to get on a few more products. Now, part of listing and volume is being able to increase your speed, and that's another discussion for another time. But I'd like to see everybody also increasing their speed so that when you do sit down and list, you're doing a whole lot more, right? You're being more efficient with your time. If you're listing, 3-4 minute listings and you sit down for an hour, that's a lot of listings you can get up in the space of an hour versus 20-25 minute listings. But we're not going to talk about speed today. I'm just emphasizing that that's important for you guys. Set some goals and improve your volume. Okay, that's suggestion number 1 today, because I don't see a lot of people that have the type of volume it takes to make this work. I think some of you come in to the retail drop shipping strategy with the misconception that you're going to have a high conversion rate. Okay, you're not going to have a high conversion rate at all because you're shooting from the hip at the beginning. Now, some of you would argue and say, well, I thought when I got into the training program that you were supposed to train us on, how to research the best products. And we will train you on that. And that's one approach you can take, where you do a lot of research up front and just try to pick winners instead of posting a lot of products at once and sifting through the bad ones. There's 2 different approaches here, right? I prefer most of you guys start with the approach of just listing a whole lot of stuff at once without any analysis. And I'll tell you why that is. And tell me if this is true of some of you guys. I know it is, as I'm looking at some names here. Some of you guys suffer from a little bit of analysis paralysis. Don't you think? I know that's true of a few of you. Some of you would rather research and research and research and never actually do anything. And I'm just being honest. I mean, sometimes we use analysis and research as an excuse to not actually do something, because what we're scared of failing. I think we're scared of actually going out there and listing and trying it and then failing and then worrying about what that might mean for you. That's why we suggest you take on the shotgun approach first. It requires no research or very little research. All it requires is learning how to list quickly. And so if you're wondering at what point in this process do we get a bit more analytical, we do, and we will later, but I would prefer you guys take on the shotgun approach first, okay? Which basically just means you get lots of listings up at one time. Lots and lots and lots without a lot of research. Okay, so let's assume for a second, I don't have a specific example, but let's assume for a second you've got around 100 listings. And you're finding you're only selling maybe 2 or 3 a week, if that, right? What can you do immediately to fix that issue? Okay, well, number 1, and maybe I should bring up a notepad so we can take some notes while we're talking here. I'll use my screen here in just a minute so you're just not listening to me talk. But we'll say here's the scenario, right? You have 100 active listings. We'll say you're doing maybe 2 sales per week, okay? How do I fix it? And that's a question I get from a lot of you guys. First of all, remember, keep the expectation that it's not uncommon to only be selling a few things and having like a 3% conversion rate during your first few weeks. That's very common, right? If you're expecting to sell like every product you put up, you're crazy. It's not going to happen, especially when you're first starting. So make sure you make that adjustment in your head. So how do we fix it, guys? What are some of your suggestions as we're talking about how to fix this problem right here? 100 listings, only a few sales a week. What would you do in that situation? Russell, that's not a bad idea. So review your titles, okay? Make sure 80 characters. Good keywords being used in your title. All right, I'll take that. That's a good answer. What else can we do? What have you done in the past when you've struggled a little bit like this? What kinds of things can you do to pull ourselves out of a rut? Ideally, when I say how do we fix it, you know I'm talking about conversion rate, right? I'm talking about, you know, the number of items that you list per week versus the number of sales you have. We want a higher number of those to sell, so we want to increase the rate of conversion. Okay, maybe pull off the losers, right? That kind of goes along with what you're saying. Elaine, you're saying get rid of some of the ones that aren't selling and put on some more seasonal stuff. So I'm going to say pull off losers. Okay, so let me define that for just a second. A loser is a product that you've had for, we'll say up for, 5 or 6 weeks and can't sell it. We're going to call that a loser. I'm hesitant to say when you've listed something for a couple of weeks and it's not sold that it's a loser and we should pull it off. I don't want you to pull things off prematurely, okay? Give things 5 or 6 weeks. And if you still haven't sold them then consider replacing them with other products, right? Maybe look at seasonality, and I agree with that. Whoops, hold on. There we go. Sell what's in season. That can help your conversion rate a little bit, sure. Yep, this one for sure. I saw several comments about this. Increase your volume. Okay, we're going to highlight this one here in just a sec. So we're going to talk more about that, meaning put more listings up. Now, you would think that that wouldn't make sense, right? Because if you're only closing 2 or 3 sales a week off of 100, I guess in theory, if we add another 100 and we double that, maybe we're at 4 to 6 sales a week. And we double that, 300, and maybe we're at 6 to 8 sales a week. The conversion rate is staying the same. We're just putting more up, and that increases our sales. So I'll take that as an answer for sure. Yep, review products and prices, add more products, maybe adjust the prices a little bit, up or down. Sometimes an increase in prices helps. A lot of you guys are seeing this where you're getting a lot of views and nobody's buying, right? A lot of views and watchers and maybe nobody's buying. And I'm going to say review views and watchers to help determine losers, okay? So when you're looking at maybe pulling something off 5 or 6 weeks in, if it's actually getting a fair number of watchers, keep it. Right? I always use the example of the ugly brown couch that sold for one of my clients many times, but it only sold once every 5, 6 weeks or so. We don't want to pull something off prematurely, and if it's getting a little interest, let's plan on keeping it. Well, the one thing today, I mean, these are great suggestions, and let me just pull one suggestion out of this. You need to analyze your listings a little bit. So number six here, when we're talking about reviewing your views and watchers, I'm going to add to this review views, watchers, and sales. Because you know what? The best research you can ever do is your own research, right? Because it is your own. It's not shared with everybody else out there. And all these tools that are out there and these trends reports and stuff that we'll go over, they're available for everybody, but your research is your own, and you can use that to your own benefit. So my advice to you is really take this last one seriously, and the items that are getting a little more interest, more views, more watchers, perhaps you've had a sale or two on a certain item, my advice is to simply load your item up or load your store up with that same type of item. Let's do an example. Let's say, for example, you start to see a sale or two on some compost bins, right? I'm just pulling that off the top of my head, but we'll just say that's what's happening. Compost bins, we'll say, is what's selling for you. You've maybe sold a couple. You've gotten some views and watchers on them. It's clear you've got some interest in them. Well, you know what you should do immediately if you want to help improve your conversion rate? You ought to go out there and you ought to find every different variation of a compost bin you can and list as many as you can. Put up 40 of them the next week. And what'll happen in this process of focusing on one little area is there's a chance you're going to find a little niche that you can really exploit and do well with. There's a chance B that you're going to find an item within that niche that's going to be a good seller for a long time. I won't tell you the specific type of product, but I'll never forget a client of mine. Year in and year out, it was this same product that sold extremely well until the supplier discontinued it. Normal retail supplier. I'll just tell you, it was Sears. Sears was the only one who carried this item. And he probably sold this item at like I think depending on the price, they went up and down a little bit, but he would sell and make anywhere from $50 a sale to like $120 a sale, depending on the price, because sometimes it went on and off sale. And this item, I mean, for 2 years, he would sell it on a very regular basis. It was a seasonal item, so he would sell a whole lot more of them during the warmer months. The winter months he wouldn't sell as much, but this single item made this guy thousands of dollars. And that's kind of what we're looking to find, is a bunch of these items that we can fit into your store that are regular sellers that maybe don't sell every week even, but if they're selling every 2 or 3 weeks or even every month, and you get a store chock full of those kind of items, you end up making pretty good money. So if we find that one of our compost bins that we've listed starts to sell and get some interest, that your knee-jerk reaction at that point should be to list more, right? Because you may have found yourself a nice little niche. And don't just list like 3 or 4 more. I've given this advice to some of you guys before, and I'll say, yeah, good, you got a sale. Now let's list more of those. And I'll come back the next week and you've got like 4 more listed. And it's like, well, surely there's more than just 4 of these things. There's probably 300 variations of compost bins that sell out on the market. Let's list 80 of them and see what starts to sell, right? You got to give things a chance. You can't just do a few items. So list more. And then the second suggestion that I want to give you is I'm going to say don't use, well, let me rewrite it like this. Don't focus only on big box stores. Okay, what do I mean by a big box store? Somebody define that for me real quick. Big box store, household name type store, what are we talking about? Yeah, it's the stuff you hear about all the time, right? Stuff you hear commercials on that everybody knows about. It's Walmart, it's Target, it's Amazon, it's JCPenney, it's Macy's, it's Sears, it's Overstock. You know what I mean? These are all companies. Oh yeah, Home Depot and Lowe's and so on and so forth. These are all companies that most of you guys probably knew every company that I just mentioned, right? And I'm not oblivious to the fact that we teach most of you to start doing retail drop shipping with some of the big box stores because it's easy. So inherent in that would be some existing competition even amongst our own clients. If they're all in there selling from the same suppliers, they may all be competing with themselves a little bit, right? So if in this scenario we found that maybe a few of our compost bins from Home Depot are getting some interest, maybe sold, and then we hop onto Home Depot and we list everything that they have, and then maybe we hop over to Walmart or Target and we list theirs, take it a step further. And this is the one thing that I want you to take away from our discussion today, and what I wanted to focus on is don't just settle for the big box stores. Find your own unique retail drop shipper, okay? And the way we would do that is like this. You would go to Google, and well, there's a couple ways you could do it. You could start by doing google.com/shopping. You ever used that before? I think I brought it up in a few of my trainings. Okay. Well, yeah, Jane, we do use some of the big box stores as suppliers, but there's all kinds of different drop shipping suppliers. There's retail ones, there's wholesale ones that we get into a little bit later. But yeah, big box stores as drop shippers work extremely well. But there is a little bit of competition, and so my suggestion is to come here to Google Shopping and put in compost bin. And let's see if we can find some different stores that you guys haven't thought of yet. Okay? So Google Shopping is cool. It doesn't show you every store on the internet, but it's going to show you some that you probably haven't thought of. And these are different variations of some compost bins right here from different stores. And if I click on, let's say, this one here at the very top, and I come over here to compare prices from 50 stores, basically what's happening here is Google Shopping is telling me that this specific compost bin is sold at Home Depot, Hayneedle, Jet.com, Wayfair, Walmart, Plow and Hearth, Gardner's Supply Company, Wayfair, Quill. Okay, and I can keep going down the list. I'll bet some of you guys haven't even heard of some of these places. There's Sears, Bonanza, Deals Cube is one. More eBay. There's a whole bunch of them on eBay sold by different people. And see what's happening is you're looking at eBay and you're seeing usernames here. There's a ton of people selling this compost bin. More eBay. More eBay. More eBay. Okay. So my concern with selling some of these mainstream compost bins that are coming from the from the big box stores is a lot of people are already selling them on eBay too. My hope is through looking through Google Shopping, you can come across the names of some stores here that you've never heard of before, that perhaps aren't stores that are household names as much, and are stores that you could use as a retail supplier that maybe nobody else on eBay is using. That's one way to find those types of stores. The other way that you can do it is you can just do it the good old-fashioned way by going to Google and searching as if you're just looking to buy a compost bin. So I'm going to type in buy compost bin, and I'm going to do a search, and I'm going to look through the companies that come up. Home Depot, Amazon. There's some news sites, Urban Garden Center. Okay. Gardeners.com, they have a store there. But I'm not just going to look on the first page of Google for these potential suppliers. I'm really going to drill down in Google, because the hope here is we're going to find a store that's not so well known. Not everybody else is selling their same compost bins. I mean, if I go to Walmart and I list all the Walmart compost bins, yeah, I might sell some, but I can almost guarantee that there's going to be more competition off of the Walmart ones than maybe some other more obscure supplier. So I get into Google and I'm going to dig deep, and my hope is I'm going to stumble upon some supplier names here right out of Google, suppliers I've never heard of, compost bins that I've never seen before. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to contact their customer service, and whether that be like through a live chat, or you could email them, or I sometimes will just get them on the phone real quick, and I'll say, hey, I've never shopped at your store. Interested to learn more about it. So if I buy something online, how long does the shipping take? How much does the shipping usually cost? What's your return policy like? Hey, and by the way, if I have you shipped to a third-party address, will you make sure to leave out the pricing? Can I ship as a gift? So you have this conversation with this more obscure supplier that not everybody knows about. And what's going to happen is you're going to stumble upon a little niche from a supplier that nobody's using of good products. You may be the only person listing those things on eBay, and you're going to find an item or two or three or five or 10 or 15 that sell on a really regular basis, because you had the gumption to go out there and find somebody that other people aren't using. It's tough to do that with the big box stores. So can I advise some of you guys who have limped along in our retail drop shipping strategy to not put away the big box stores, because there can still be really good opportunities there, but to branch out a little bit. use your analysis of your listings and what's selling and what's getting interest, and then go find another supplier that does retail drop shipping in Google, just like I showed you how to do right now, that isn't so well known. And I can tell you some of my best clients that I've ever had do this strategy, that was their big secret. They found some obscure supplier that had some pretty cool products at some decent prices that weren't marketed very well, and they sold the crap out of them on eBay. And that's how they really got it out of that limping along that some of you guys are feeling right now. That's the trick. We mentioned several other tricks as we were listing, review titles and, refine through your listing and seasonality and do more listings and efficiency. But this one that I'm sharing with you right now, to find the other types of suppliers that aren't popular, is so very important and could make all the difference in the world for you. So I want that to be your takeaway today. If you're not doing it already, do it. And I'm seeing mostly, as I'm reviewing your guys' listings, it's not usually the quality, it's not the titles as much. Your prices are a little high, but that's not even the issue either. The issue is you either don't have enough items listed, or you're not being creative enough with the suppliers you're using. Fix those two issues, and you will have much more success doing the retail dropshipping strategy. Okay? That makes sense, everybody? Okay, I'm not going to do any more than that. I hope that was helpful. Maybe I'll keep it open for just another minute. I've kept you long enough, but just another minute. If you've got any questions, go ahead and fire away. Otherwise, we'll finish up here. I'm not sure what the name will be, Henry, but it'll be at the top of our list on YouTube. I usually put it there. So if you go to YouTube and then just do a search for my name, like that, you can usually find my channel page with my eBay videos right here, and it's going to be at the top of that list. There's a big list right here out to the right. You'll be able to find it there. The RSD or the RDS, where did I put it there in my notes? That's our acronym for retail drop shippers. No, Amy. Funny enough, so a lot of the bigger retailers do sell on eBay. Target has their own eBay account. And I've done a webinar on this in the past, but Target does not do a good job optimizing their items that they list. Like, you'll see some Target listings that are 3 words long in the title. Terrible titles, and you can out-title Target and sell their stuff right from underneath their nose, because they obviously didn't hire good enough marketers to list their products well. So just because you're seeing an authorized retailer that's got a lot of their stuff up already doesn't mean you can't relist it and outrank them and get more visibility for sure. Robert, you say, I have a couple of obscure suppliers I'm trying to work with. Do you see a problem with me purchasing the products and having them shipped to me, then reselling? No, I mean, the only problem with that is it's not as well automated. You're basically creating a situation for yourself where you are carrying a little bit of inventory. If you're comfortable carrying some inventory, I don't think it's a problem at all, because I do. I know a lot of you guys are sensitive to that because you can't take the risk. But if you've got a decent supplier and it looks like their stuff is going to sell well, yeah, you bet. Buy some stuff and resell it. The other downside is it might cost, you might be able to get $4 or $5 shipping out of Walmart to ship something. But if you were to ship it by yourself, it's going to cost you sometimes, 50, 60, 70% more, because you don't qualify for the same shipping discount. So I prefer to drop ship stuff directly when I'm doing this retail drop shipping, but that's certainly an option. Okay. Well, we're going to finish up with those questions. If you have any more questions, feel free to contact me. We'll be doing some more eBay training when we get together next Friday, same time, same place. Hopefully this was instructive, and go ahead and make some changes. I don't want you just coming and listening and learning. Let's actually put some of this into action and do better, especially because you blink and the holidays will be here, and demand is going to skyrocket, and it's important that we fix some of these issues before the holidays hit us square in the face. All right? Okay, thanks again, guys, and we will see you all next time.